In an emotional moment, young Prince Louis and George made a heartfelt visit to Princess Diana's resting place, holding flowers that stirred an entire nation's heart. Their innocent act unlocked a wave of deep emotions, but it was their words that followed which truly broke Prince William, leaving him in tears. What could they have said to cut so deeply into a father's heart? Why has this moment captured the world's attention? Together, let's look closer at this moving scene, reflect on the royal family's pain, and share the unforgettable tribute that has touched millions. George and Louis standing at Diana's grave marked a royal tribute unlike any other. It has been 27 long years since the world lost Princess Diana in that devastating car crash on August 31st, 1997, yet her presence still lingers strongly, not only among those who knew her personally, but also with the children and grandchildren who never got to meet her. At the core of this lasting bond is the quiet and intentional way Prince William and Princess Kate keep her spirit alive in their young family. Royal author Phil Dampier once revealed that Kate ensures her children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, grow up knowing who their late grandmother was, not just as a historical royal figure, but as a woman who made a difference through compassion, generosity, and courage. Kate, who also never met Diana, once shared on the day of her engagement that she would have loved to know her. That absence is something she feels deeply, and it is why she has devoted herself to making Diana's memory a real, living part of her children's lives. Kate's mother, Carol Middleton, has quietly played an important part in this, being the grandmother who bakes with them, tells family stories, and shares those everyday moments. But Kate makes sure Diana is not a distant memory from the past. Whether it is on Diana's birthday, the anniversary of her death, or ordinary days in between, there are rituals, talks, and small tributes that keep her spirit close to the children. One of the most touching traditions has been how the young royals honor key occasions with handmade gestures. And perhaps the most touching was when they marked Mother's Day with something extraordinary. Heartfelt handwritten cards to Granny Diana. These messages, later shared with the world, melted hearts everywhere. On green paper, with careful handwriting, George wrote, "Dear Granny Diana, Happy Mother's Day. I love you so much and think about you always." Sending lots of love from George. Charlotte's card was pink with a bright heart drawn on it, and her simple words were full of sincerity. "Dear Granny Diana, I'm thinking of you on Mother's Day. I love you very much. Papa misses you. Lots of love, Charlotte." These weren't just notes. They were an emotional bridge, children reaching out to a grandmother they never met, telling her she still lives in their hearts. It offered a rare glimpse into a royal family moment free from rules and ceremony, defined only by love and longing. The loss of Diana remains one of the most sorrowful chapters in modern royal history. Her grave at her childhood home, Althorpe in Northampton, lies on a small island in the middle of a calm oval lake, surrounded by peaceful nature. It is a place of reflection, a stark contrast to the chaos and tragedy that ended her life. For William, bringing his children here is not just an act of respect, but a way to give them a link to the woman who shaped so much of who he is today. These moments, both public and private, help the young royals know that Diana's story is part of their story. So when the family marked the most recent anniversary, George and Louis brought more than flowers to her grave. They brought words that came straight from their hearts, words that touched something deep within their father and brought tears to his eyes. But what could his young sons have said that morning that left the future king so visibly moved? Stay with us, because the truth will make your heart race. This was meant to be a private moment, a family quietly paying respect to a woman whose name still echoes through the heart of the nation. Yet for Prince William, this year's remembrance of his late mother struck harder than ever, marking the 28th anniversary of her tragic passing. The mood in the Wales household was full of unspoken feelings. Though William's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, never met their grandmother, her presence is far from missing in their lives. For them, Granny Diana is more than a name in history. She is a real person built from vivid stories told by their parents. Much of this is thanks to Princess Catherine's steady and determined effort. Friends close to the family say she has made it her mission to keep Diana's legacy alive, especially on her birthdays or the days she passed. She often shares stories of Diana's kindness, her dedication to the forgotten, and her unmatched warmth. These are not just royal tales. They are lessons in compassion, empathy, and bravery. Catherine herself never had the chance to meet Diana, something she once admitted during her engagement with a faint sadness in her eyes, saying, "I would have loved to, it is that shared void, the fact that neither Catherine nor her children have truly known Diana, that drives her determination to keep her memory alive." This year, the family chose to visit Diana's resting place in a quiet, modest tribute. No grand public appearance, no formal statement from the palace, just family. The long, shaded path leading to the memorial was lined with flowers left by strangers who had never met her, but still felt connected. The air carried a soft scent of lilies, roses, and damp earth from the morning rain. As they walked, William's expression remained composed, the royal calm never wavering at first. But those who know him well understand the truth. Every August stirs a storm of emotions. He is no longer the young boy walking behind his mother's coffin, yet the ache of that loss has never fully left him. Watching his children's innocent faces as they neared the memorial only deepened that ache. When they reached the quiet spot, William stayed a few steps behind, observing as his children moved forward. There was a delicate care in the way George stepped closer, as if trying to bridge the distance between the grandmother he had heard so much about and the reality of her absence. Charlotte held her flowers tightly, her brows furrowed in focus as she set them down. Louis, still very young, glanced up at his father for reassurance, unsure yet eager to follow his siblings' lead. William's gaze followed every gesture, and something within him shifted. He wasn't simply seeing his children honor Diana. He was seeing her legacy carried forward, not through crowns or titles, but through love, empathy, and the gentle curiosity of three young souls. A witness later described the moment as quietly devastating. William's shoulders tensed, his jaw tightened, and then slowly his guard fell. His eyes grew wet, his head lowered slightly as if to shield it, but there was no hiding it, not from Catherine, who stepped a little closer, her hand brushing his in quiet understanding. The children at first were too focused on arranging their flowers just right to notice. When William finally knelt beside them, his voice softened. Catherine stood back, watching as he pointed toward the memorial and spoke gently. No one knows exactly what he said, but George's solemn nod and Charlotte's small hand squeezing his arm told their own story. For William, this was more than an annual tradition. It was an emotional reckoning. The boy who once walked behind a coffin was now a father, guiding his children through the same grief. Only now he had to carry it without letting it overwhelm him. Yet in that moment, the sorrow felt just as fresh as it had decades ago. Those close to the family say William often wrestles with how much to share about Diana. He wants his children to know their grandmother's kindness, her strength, her humanity, but he also wants to shield them from the pain of her loss for as long as possible. It is a fragile balance, and moments like this test it. But grief has a way of creeping in without warning. The stillness of the memorial, the scent of flowers, the sound of his children's voices, all of it blended into a wave of memory William could not hold back. His vision blurred, and for a brief, unguarded moment, the future King of England stood there in silent tears. This was not weakness. It was the purest form of love, love for the mother who shaped him, love for the children who would never meet her, and love for the woman standing quietly at his side, sharing the weight of both. They lingered there a while longer, speaking in low tones, sharing faint smiles that tried to soften the heaviness of the moment. But beneath it all lay the undeniable truth. Diana was gone, yet her presence was stitched into the fabric of their lives. As they turned to leave, William glanced back one last time. No cameras, no speeches, no official words, just a man, a son, still missing his mother nearly 30 years on. Reflections on Diana within the family were about to grow even deeper. But who could have predicted that the most powerful emotions of the day would come not from the children, but from William himself? Keeping Diana's spirit alive in the hearts of the next generation has always been his mission. For William, remembering his late mother is not about clinging to the past. It's about teaching his children who she truly was and what she represented. Through warm, often playful stories filled with humor and love, he makes sure Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis grow up with a true sense of the grandmother they never met, the woman behind the royal image. In the 2017 documentary Diana, Our Mother, Her Life and Legacy, William and his brother, Prince Harry, offered rare glimpses into their childhood, sharing moments that revealed Diana's tender, caring nature. Prince William often recalls the carefree trips to amusement parks, the unplanned stops at fast food places, and the quiet little adventures that brightened their ordinary days. Those outings were more than just lighthearted fun. They were Diana's way of showing her sons that life beyond royal expectations could be simple, warm, and full of laughter. Even in difficult times, her humor and gentle guidance helped them navigate the world with resilience and love. These moments didn't remain only with William and Harry. William has carefully passed them down to his children, who lovingly call her Granny Diana. In their home, photographs of her hold special places, and her stories are told repeatedly, keeping her presence alive. Through this, George, Charlotte, and Louis can form an emotional connection with the grandmother they never met, feeling her spirit as part of their everyday life. William's devotion ensures Diana's essence continues to shape the family, inspiring their values and guiding them forward. But it isn't only about memories. Diana's compassion, empathy, and dedication to helping others remain at the core of how William and Kate raised their children. From an early age, they are taught that privilege comes with responsibility, that they should look beyond palace walls, care for others, and lead with kindness. William often reflects on Diana's charitable work, showing his children that real influence matters most when it comes with humility. Whether visiting hospitals, supporting the homeless, or backing charitable causes, these lessons help George, Charlotte, and Louis live by the same principles that define Diana's life. William's approach blends royal tradition with genuine humanity, ensuring her legacy is not frozen in the past, but grows with the family, shaping how the next generation acts and thinks. Choices like Charlotte carrying Diana's name, the selection of godparents, and the small daily lessons of empathy and respect reinforce her active presence in their lives. Diana is not just remembered, she is felt, her influence quietly guiding her grandchildren in visible and subtle ways. Through daily routines, shared stories, and the values they live by, Diana's presence molds the young royals in ways that will last forever. Her ability to balance duty with warmth is reflected in how George, Charlotte, and Louis are growing up, thoughtful, kind, and aware. Each story and each act of compassion is another thread linking the past to the present, ensuring Diana's example leaves a lasting imprint not only on the family but on the generation to come. Prince William has created a home where Diana's spirit is not only a memory but a guiding light, felt in small gestures, shared laughter, and constant reminders of love and care. Through him, his children learn not just who she was, but how to embody her values themselves. Princess Diana's legacy lives on, not only in photos or public admiration, but in the hearts of George, Charlotte, and Louis. And as the world watches this family carry her influence forward, one question remains. How does the public truly feel witnessing her impact so alive in the next generation? The moment George and Louis brought flowers to her grave became an instant global sensation. The image of the young princes beside their father, Prince William, in that quiet, Emotional moments stirred memories, reopened old wounds, and reignited conversations about Diana's enduring legacy. In the United Kingdom, it dominated front pages. The Guardian, The Telegraph, and the BBC described it as a rare and deeply moving glimpse into a royal family scene at their most vulnerable. It was not a formal balcony appearance nor a staged engagement, but an intimate act of remembrance. Social media flooded with hashtags like hashtag Princess Diana, hashtag Never Forgotten, and hashtag Royal Family, with people sharing black and white photos, candle emojis, and personal memories of the day they heard of her death in 1997. Many praised William for ensuring his mother's influence remains a living force in his children's lives. Across the United States, the moment was viewed as more than just a family visit. It was seen as a symbolic passing of Diana's values to her grandchildren. Outlets like People magazine and ABC News paired the new images of George and Louis with archival footage of Diana hugging sick children in hospitals or shaking hands with AIDS patients, moments that once challenged stigma and are now remembered as hallmarks of her compassion. Commentators emphasized how her name continues to evoke powerful feelings decades later, inspiring kindness across generations. In Australia, media coverage drew on their long-standing affection for Diana, with the Sydney Morning Herald and news.com.au reminding readers of her warmth during her royal tours, when she often set aside protocol to connect with ordinary people. The sight of George and Louis laying flowers echoed that same belief, that family and compassion come before ceremony. Royal historians weighed in as well. Andrew Morton, author of Diana, Her True Story, told ITV News that including the children was significant, not just as a personal tribute from William, but as a subtle public signal that the monarchy is learning to show vulnerability as a form of strength, something once tightly guarded. Global outlets did not simply report the story, they analyzed it. CNN featured psychologists explaining how public expressions of grief by figures like William can bridge the emotional divide between royals and the public, reminding everyone that behind the titles are human hearts. Yet, perhaps the most profound measure of impact was found not in headlines, but in the thousands of comments beneath them. People from every generation shared how Diana had touched their lives. Some met her and spoke of her kindness firsthand. Others only knew her through photographs and stories, yet credited her with inspiring them to give, volunteer, or show more compassion. This intimate family moment reignited discussions about Diana's lasting mark on the monarchy. Even critics who often view the royals as distant acknowledged the humanity in the scene, while supporters said it proved what they always believed, that Diana's principles of empathy and service live on in her children and grandchildren. For William, the overwhelming response was a reminder that his mother's presence has not faded, even as the monarchy faces a world of divided opinions. And for George and Louis, it was a quiet but profound introduction to the woman whose love and values helped shape the father they know. The flowers they laid were more than a gesture. They were a message. But what meaning did those blooms carry? And what did they truly symbolize at Diana's grave? Each bloom was intentionally chosen, holding layers of meaning connected to Diana's life, the way the world remembers her, and the deep private love her family still feels for her. Sources close to the royal household revealed the choice was deliberate: white lilies, forget-me-nots, and white roses, each carrying a piece of her story. White lilies, often present at funerals, symbolize purity, devotion, and the restoration of innocence after death. And for the people's princess, they reflected the honesty and selflessness she showed throughout her public life. Forget-me-nots added an intimate element. They were known to be one of Diana's favorite flowers and were frequently planted in the Kensington Palace Gardens during her lifetime. In the language of flowers, they represent remembrance, and their inclusion signaled that even though George and Louis never had the chance to meet her, they will always carry her memory with them. This choice also nodded to her humanitarian work, which often focused on those forgotten by society. White roses added another layer of meaning, standing for innocence, loyalty, and new beginnings, qualities Diana embodied. Roses have long been tied to her image, and memorial gardens such as Kensington Palace's White Garden, opened in 2017, display them prominently alongside lilies. Placing them at her grave connected this private moment with her public tributes. Even the way the flowers were set down spoke volumes. They were not arranged in a formal bouquet, but laid loosely, almost as if gathered by hand. This mirrored Diana's preference for authenticity over strict royal formality. She was known for personal gestures like writing her own thank you notes, making unexpected hospital visits, and taking time to speak with those overlooked. The soft, informal display reflected her spirit perfectly. The colors held meaning as well. White dominated, representing purity and peace, while soft pinks and pale blues suggested affection, calm, and hope. Blue also tied back to the forget-me-nots, symbolizing stability, a fitting tone for such a tribute. The act of laying flowers has long been a universal tradition, a way to bridge the living and the dead, expressing love and grief when words fall short. While royal flower-laying ceremonies are often carefully staged, this one felt intimate and unrefined, echoing the haunting memory of William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin in 1997, surrounded by blooms from mourners across the globe. By choosing flowers so closely linked with Diana's life, William made sure his son's tribute carried a deep, silent message. It was a gesture of continuity, showing how values, memories, and even favorite blossoms can be passed through generations. It also affirmed that Diana's legacy endures not just in public commemorations, but in quiet family traditions. Perhaps the strongest symbolism wasn't in the flowers themselves, but in the small hands that placed them. Two young boys growing up within the very royal world Diana once tried to make gentler and more humane, now carrying her memory forward in their own way. And yet, the question remains. What is it about Diana's legacy that keeps the world from ever letting her go? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe.